G'day friends and fans, welcome to Dave Talks Stuff Ukraine War Update for the 30th of July 2025. Trump has given a deadline. This is day 10, coming to an end. There are now just over 9 days to go. Just over, because I don't think it's going to go well. I think nobody's going to get what they want and nobody's going to be happy. Anyhow, I'm your host, the author, David Applegate. Author of the books The Boyhood Arcade, Power Games, Into the Ozmound, and Erotic Tales from the Empire. Part 1 available soon. Now, I got into as I write, I world build. And in order to develop a world, I studied conflicts historically, and the thing is, I grew up, my grandmother was a survivor of the Nazi occupation of the Netherlands. I grew up reading lots of history about World War II. I know a bit about war, but not everything. I don't profess to be an expert on geopolitics, but as I studied the Ukraine war, I just got lie after lie after lie being obviously exposed without very little research. It is clear to me that the media engaged in a massive cover-up of the war in Donbass and the extrajudicial murders by Ukraine. But even today, they lie. Now, what I really hate is how everybody involved in the West just turns a blind eye to the lies. You should question everything. Especially liberals, because they have no compunction. You can catch them lying and they don't care. They will continue with their lies. They're so... It's just infuriating how lazy the right has become. It ain't... And it's, of course, poisoned by all the conspiracy theorists who just blatantly make stuff up. Now, I sort through the trash so you don't have to. Most of the media lies by omission. Can the war be stopped? Well, of course Ukraine wants the war to be stopped by force, because it benefits them. Nobody's going to be saintly. Everybody's selfish. And when you start from that premise, you start working out why things go wrong for you. It may seem so obvious to you that Russia was offered a great deal, but not from Putin's perspective, from yours. Now, we'll get to that later. Most of the news, however, is more of the same bullshit. Okay, the media wants an endless war. But the Ukrainians are mad at Zelensky, and that is going to unravel Ukraine's facade. Now, why? Again, we don't know why these attacks occurred. We don't know if they're deliberate. Remember, Ukraine keeps telling us how they jam drones. You know what happens when a drone is jammed, right? It doesn't go home. It's a military drone. It continues on its course. So, if it's jammed, it's going to be misdirected. So, Ukraine is deliberately jamming drones that will hit civilian areas because there's no comeuppance for them. Because most people don't use this. people listen to the experts or the big brands. You know, most big YouTubers have fake accounts, right? They have fake viewers. You can spot them a mile away. They post a video and instantly get 20,000 views. Come on, be realistic. Particularly when you see people with million followers and 300 live viewers or 380 live stream viewers. Fuck Barbra Streisand and fuck Ukraine. Alright. So see, it's rare, but actually Russia does target Ukrainian ground forces. Ukrainian ground forces actually admitted they were hit. This is a rare admission. So there you go. If this was shown any other time, they'd probably say it was civilian infrastructure. Perhaps Trump has quietly put a hard word into Zelensky to stop with the lies. So, Tuesday, Trump said, starting today, the countdown, 10 days. They'll start with tariffs, not just on Russia, but on... Now, I don't know exactly how it works. But, they said that they were going to target countries who trade with Russia. Now, there's conditions. Now, publicly, these are basically progress towards ending the war. Okay? Today, I think it was announced that one of those is, in 10 days, they expect a 30-day ceasefire. But some say that it was unfair to shorten a 50-day period because Ukraine just has to wait out the clock. And that's a fact. Setting fire to a bus depot, see, childish reports like this, just to drum up hate, okay? There's no strategic value in a Colombian national setting arson attacks in Poland, okay? There's just none, okay? It's just childish. Same when Reuters puts other stories over the top of an article. Again, they leave out so much detail. It's like, bro, these people get paid $79,000 a year to write bullshit, a couple of paragraphs a day. That's bullshit. Now, again, these people get paid lots of money to write bullshit. Okay? Not once did they mention the savagery of Ukraine towards Russians or Russian-speaking people for the last decade, or the geopolitical catastrophe that Ukraine has caused, or the child sex trafficking, or the Ukrainians kidnapping Russian children to sell in the Middle East, because the whole world turns a blind eye. Meanwhile, you're distracted by Epstein. So many people out there allow themselves to be misdirected, so easily manipulated, because they're weak. Liberals are weak. Weak people are immature. Immature people give in to their emotions. Immature people can't be told facts. They have these idols and they value society on hierarchies in their mind that if somebody's higher educated, they must be a better person and better people don't lie. Wrong. The higher people up the hierarchy, the more they lie. You think Putin's the only liar in the world? Oh my God. Why can't Putin accept Trump's offer? Because it doesn't benefit Russia. It benefits Europe and the United States. But in Trump's mind, yes, it benefits Russia. But Putin is looking at this from the historical fact that whenever the West has gone into Russia to help, they only end up exploiting Russians, paying Russians less. Look at the big Volvo factory. Look at the big BMW factory. They came in, made a lot of cars, made a lot of money, then shut down the factories and put thousands of Russians out of work and moved the factories to Brazil, and then moved them to South Africa, and then moved them again and moved them again. All they're seeking is endless government incentives to build factories in other countries. They don't care about the local economy whatsoever. Why did Putin reject America's peace terms? Because that only lasts Trump's term. It's not binding to any other government going forward. Why does Putin accept victory? Refuse to accept victory in Ukraine? Because you're not handing Russia victory in Ukraine. It's just a ceasefire. They're lying to you. The Atlantic Council are lying to you. Now, I think Trump needs to up his game. You gotta offer Russia, and you gotta stand up to Ukraine. You gotta offer Russia an extremely lasting deal that can't be undone by Congress or anything. That is a specific set of terms and a specific set of conditions and a specific mechanism to deal with Ukraine and to deal with the Nazis in Ukraine and to deal with all the other criminality that goes on in Ukraine. Until you do that, all you're offering Russia is platitudes. Yes, I think Trump is being naive at times, thinking that Ukraine is the victim. They're a victim of their own circumstance. They're a victim of their own criminality. People forget, up until 2022, everybody, even The Guardian, was bashing how corrupt Ukraine was. And that it didn't matter what government Ukraine had, the criminality was so widespread, there was no political party without blood on their hands. Particularly when it comes to the Civil War, which most seem to deny ever happened. Now, another reason why many think that there won't be peace is because, yes, Russia is taking settlement after settlement. Now, everybody keeps bleating, "Ooh, Russia, we better go to war against Russia to stop them from taking over Ukraine." But if you do, you are encouraging little men to take over little countries and attack other countries in order to puff themselves. China created this mess in Ukraine. A long, complicated mess where I think China played both sides, and Zelensky, nobody seems to want to question where Zelensky got his $1 billion from. Although, like all recipients of $1 billion gifts, a lot of it's gone. Remember, Russia's been destroying Zelensky's property. They confiscated Zelensky's house in Crimea. That was worth $80 million, apparently. Zelensky hadn't paid taxes in years. And this was before he became the president. Zelensky became president to get a pardon from what? From tax evasion. And what other crimes he was involved in. Zelensky was an incredibly rich man in a poor country. You don't get incredibly rich in poor countries unless you're a crook. And stealing them from aid, of course, because the country doesn't have wealth. Burisma technically stole billions of dollars in gas from Russia by rigging the meter, reporting far less gas and oil through the pipeline. All these things, all this corruption. But in the minds of liberals, it's like, oh, we'll forgive Ukraine because they're the victim of war. No, you don't. That just encourages everybody to go to war just to get their crimes wiped out. But, of course, liberals are naive children who always think, no, people aren't that evil. And, of course, only Russia's that evil. That's how naive liberals are. Because everybody knows liberals are the biggest crooks. Just look at all the welfare scams. Just look at all the fake NGOs. That's why California's in such a mess. Now, Russia's reporting the ultimatum. Now, he actually admitted he didn't know these restrictions will work, but he has actually been pretty successful so far. So don't dismiss Trump's other measures, okay? He's obviously, the tariffs are the public face. Moscow did call them counterproductive and an interference, blah, blah, blah. You know, it's a step to war, blah, blah, blah. Now, I think if Trump could get China to bend a knee, Russia's in for a hard and rude awakening. Trump is probably one of the most determined presidents America's had. Full stop. I've never seen, historically, anybody achieve as much as Trump has. Now, don't get me wrong, there are people who are way richer than Trump. But you've got to remember, they are not acting alone. Remember, Jeff Bezos was backed by corrupt government in California. Visa was backed by corrupt Congress under Nancy Pelosi. Most large American businesses are large because they all contribute to the American defense industry. And if you think Amazon doesn't, you've never heard of Amazon Logistics because you never deal with them. Or Google Robotics because you never deal with them. Same with Visa and its financial system. It's because you never deal with them. It's like Microsoft. Microsoft is the richest company in the world. It's actually richer than Tesla. But they have far more spread in their leadership, and the distribution of wealth in Microsoft is much bigger than Tesla. That's why Microsoft may be the richest company, but individually, Elon Musk is the richest individual. It's like, for a short time, the head of the French fashion house was one of the richest men in the world because he made all those investments. Until those investments in China collapsed and he lost $1 trillion in value, in which he lost somewhere around $100 billion in value. But of course, Russia thinks it's immune to sanctions. So did China. Now, I still think sanctions are but the public face. And I do think that Russia may be more exposed than they realise. And you've got to remember, 70 years of isolation did actually hurt the Russians. So I think Putin is ill-advised to, and I hope that he has a strategy to basically sit down and negotiate with Trump directly, and the sooner the better, and bring an end to this war, the sooner the better. Now, I don't know if Trump is right on the casualties, because he has greatly, I don't know if you could say he exaggerated or greatly overstated them. But then again, we don't know how many secondary deaths there are. And we only have Trump's word for it, but I'm pretty sure he's right that there are a lot more secondary deaths than they are letting on, both sides. But recently, Ukrainian propaganda, it's just so aggravating that people just believe their bullshit instead of telling Zelensky and his moron mongrels, particularly those two wankers over in England who are so far removed from reality when it comes to Ukraine. They still think the fucking country's winning the war. And England's going to come in any day now. You know. But there's such Keir Starmer nose... you know, this is the problem with the left. If you suck up to their politics, you get lots of views. And that's what a lot of these Ukraine channels do. They suck up to Ukraine because it gets all the views. It gets all the people out to have their bias confirmed. The truth. That's all I try to bring you, folks. So please like, share, and subscribe, and please support the channel. You can support me on Patreon. Buy my books, buy my merch. All my links are in the link tree, in the description below, or in my profile. Thank you to all you good people who listen, pay attention, and, of course, do your own research. Bye for now. See you in the next video. Bye for now.